I call the member for Barrow.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. This is the sort of matter of public importance motion that you get from an organisation that is controlled by another organisation that has only the respect of 15% of the total workforce and only 9% in the private sector, but an organisation that nonetheless owns 100% of a political party. The Australian Labor Party is, was and always has been the political wing of the trade union movement, and this has real consequences for the country and for the rule of law in particular. They look at the CFMEU with its beatings and say nothing to see here. They look at the CFMEU with its intimidation and say nothing to see here. They look at the CFMEU with its links to organised crime and say nothing to see here. They look at the CFMEU with its run-throughs and say nothing to see here. They look at the CFMEU's multiple contempts of court and say nothing to see here. They are the Sergeant Schultz of Australian politics. And why do they do this? They do this, Mr Deputy Speaker, because they are addicted to the financial support of the CFMEU, $4 million since 2013. That represents a quarter of the total money that the CFMEU has been fined by courts, because they've been fined by courts money to the tune of $16 million. But not only are they addicted to their money, they're addicted to the instructions of the trade union movement. And we can see this in the conduct of the Labor Party since the election. The Labor Party has repeatedly engaged in a political tactic which Annabel Crabb has described as the bitch and fold. We will bring legislation into this place, they'll make a lot of noise about it, they'll try to amend it, but ultimately they'll vote about it. They'll vote for it. They did that with the tax cuts. They did that with national security. My goodness, they even did it with drought fund. But there's one class of legislation, Mr Deputy Speaker, that they will fight like Kilkenny cats, not to amend and not to support, and that is any changes to industrial laws. And why? Because, as I said earlier, the Australian Labor Party is the political wing of the trade union movement. Now, there's nothing wrong with trade unions per se. Robert Menzies, the founder of my party, represented trade unions right throughout his career as a barrister. And while we are thinking about Menzies and celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Liberal Party, I thought it's worthwhile quoting from Menzies about trade unions and law and lawlessness. Menzies said in the 1940s, "The Liberal Party stands for good wages and conditions. It believes in trade unionism and in the protection by law of rights secured by wage earners. And because it believes in all these things, it stands for a fair industrial law which will be enforced without fear, favour against employer and employee alike. But law and lawless are irreconcilable. The time has come in this country where the rule of law is so frequently attacked for law-abiding people to defend the law." Those words were true in the 1940s, and they're even more true today in 2019. Labor didn't do anything about union lawlessness in the 1940s, and they're certainly not doing anything about it today. And in the 1940s, union density was over 50%. Today, as I said, it's down to 15% across the board, 9% in the private sector. And my friend, the member for Fowler, said, well, it's important to have unions in industries where the work is dangerous. Well, let's look at a couple of industries where the work is dangerous and union density in those industries. In mining, union density is down to 9.6%, and in construction it's down to 8.5%. So in the industries where the CFMEU is operating, they represent a tiny fraction of the total workers. The areas where the unions still remain strong are areas like education and health. You are more likely to hear no ticket, no start in a classroom than on a building site or in a mine. Well, what does that say? That the CFMEU is a criminal organisation. It represents almost no workers in the industries that it involves itself in, and yet they continue to have the political protection of the Labor Party because they give them instructions and because they give them money, and so the Labor Party constantly fights against changes to industrial law in this place, which would apply the rule of law to working people and give people the right not to be intimidated every day when they go to work, apply the same standards that we expect from company directors to union officials, and lift the standard and lift the productivity of this country. And as for the maritime section of the CFMEU, we all remember the waterfront, where the Maritime Workers Union said, oh, we couldn't do any more than 9 crane lifts an hour. Well, after the reforms to the waterfront, the crane lifts are over 20%. Mr Deputy Speaker, we stand for the rights of workers, they stand for the rights of unions.